Yep, okay, go ahead.
When were you born?
September 26, 1979.
Where were you born?
Where?
Yeah.
Well, Butterworth Hospital, Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is now Spectrum.
Okay. Josie. When did you first start playing basketball?
Well, believe it or not, I dunked the first time when I was like 6.5 months old. Isn't that amazing? My dad had put 2 mini hoops on both sides of the crib, and I would climb up and dunk it.
Who inspired you to play basketball?
Oh, there was a couple of people. One was my dad, of course, because he was kind of like a basketball junkie. And then I saw the movie when I was in 6th grade, Pistol Pete Maravich. And once I saw that, I was hooked.
What was the first team you played on?
The very first team I played on was the YMCA team. When I was probably, I think, 6 or 7 years old.
What do you love about basketball?
What I love about basketball is, as much as it is a physical game, it's also a thinking game. Like, it's so true when they say basketball is 90% mental and 10% physical. That's a great part of the game. You got to play together.
Who did you play for in college?
Well, I played for 2 different teams. One was Northwood University, it's NCAA Division II school, and I transferred to Olivet Nazarene University in Kankakee, Illinois. And those are the 2.
What are your college basketball accomplishments?
My college accomplishments? My freshman year, we went on to play in the NCAA Division II tournament, which was the first time in Northwood University's history. I led the country in 3-point percentage, but pretty much the whole year, but finished 3rd by the end of my freshman year. Led the team in minutes and 2nd in points my sophomore year, but finished 1st in the country in 3-point percentage in my sophomore year. My senior year was 6th man of the year in the CCAC conference. I was also the number 1 3-point shooter in the country. And we went on to play in the Elite 8. We won our conference, we played on the Elite 8 and lost, unfortunately, to the national champion.
Okay, which teams did you play for professionally?
Professionally, first team I played for, believe it or not, was the Tulips. Because I was in the country of Holland, and the Tulips were Tulip Computers. It's a big computer company. And then they were bought out by Eiffel Tower. And so I have a couple of jerseys by Eiffel Tower. But then I finished in England for a couple of years with the Coventry Crusaders.
What was it like to play professional basketball in another country?
Well, I had a stint in Germany, I did, and that was the most cultural shock I've ever had. The guy that was supposed to pick me up from the bus showed up an hour late, and I didn't think I had a ride. So I literally went to the gas station, and the guy couldn't speak English. So I'm talking to like a kindergartner, and he's talking back to the gas clerk, and the gas clerk's talking back to the kindergartner, and the kindergartner's talking back to me, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. So eventually I finally found my way when I started walking down the street. Thank God the guy saw me, and he's like, yeah, he's tall. He's got a big old duffel bag he's carrying. That must be the guy. And then, I mean, but that was Germany. Outside of that, like England and Holland, they were very westernized. So it was kind of just like America, but just smaller. And the cars are itty bitty bitty.
Did you ever train with anyone, and who was it?
Did I train with anybody? Yes, I trained with a guy named Wesley, who played for the Detroit Pistons in 2004 when they won the NBA title. I trained with Jason Richardson, played at Michigan State, won the national championship with Michigan State. Also signed an $80 million contract with the Warriors. So there's like an $80 million difference between me and him. I also trained with Jason Hutter and Kevin Fry, all guys that have played overseas, all guys that probably deserved, if not got, a sip of coffee in the NBA.
Why did you stop playing basketball?
My young man that's out there dribbling right now, I was in the country of England, and we found out that we were going to have Isaiah, me and my wife, and she wanted to get her levels checked. She was panicking because she didn't feel the baby. So we went to the hospital just to get her levels checked, and it was like, I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning. We went to go check him. And unfortunately, the healthcare in England is a little different than it is in America. We sat there in the waiting room for 3 hours, and the lady that did our levels was the same lady that sat behind her desk looking at a magazine and looking at us for 3 hours. My wife said, she looked at me and she goes, I'm never having a kid here in England, and my career was over. And I was like, okay. So that's when I decided, me and her decided to come back to the United States.
Have you ever coached any teams?
I have. I've coached, let's see here, well, currently I'm coaching the JV team at Allendale, and then I coached a professional team called the Grand Rapids Cyclones. It's a semi-pro team here in Grand Rapids. It folded just recently, but they're thinking about starting it back up again.
What made you decide to start training children and young adults?
Well, it's always been a passion of mine. Before I left and played overseas, I was part of a camp in New Paltz, New York, where we brought kids from Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and then brought them upstate and trained them for about 8 hours. But it was kind of, it was focused on, like biblical principles. We'd go through the Bible, have Bible studies. After that, I kind of felt like, man, this is what I want to do my whole life.
How do you think this training will help others in their basketball careers?
On many levels. One, from a mental standpoint, I think all of us need to have confidence and understand why we need to have confidence. Understand that it's okay to fail. I think if kids understand that it's okay to fail and that's why we succeed, I believe kids will grow, not just mentally or physically, but spiritually as well. But yeah, I think if we can master those three, we can be really successful.
Who's your favorite basketball player?
Pistol Pete Maravich, which was funny. I never saw him play a game. But outside of that, I loved Isaiah Thomas from the Detroit Pistons, 6'1", and kind of got that tough man's attitude, even though he was a little guy.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family?
Yes.
Muggsy Bugs.
Muggsy Bogues, yeah, my Muggsy Bogues, my point guard right here. This is Israel. This guy over here, he's my oldest, that's Isaiah. There's 2 girls that are not here presently. Hadassah, she is the second oldest, she's 10. And then there's Soraya Marie Louise, she is, she's 9, almost 9. She has cerebral palsy and Down syndrome, and it's been interesting but humbling for our family. So, and I have my wife.
I was going to say, and your
My wife. Don't show this
She's
to
not
her.
going to see it, don't worry.
That's all right. She's in Costa Rica while we're freezing here in Michigan. So, but yeah, we've been married for 12 years. So yeah.
Is that all? Good job, guys.
All right.